Hey, Alex, Blogger Grudges here. In this video I'm going to show you how I painted my dwarf Longbeards. This model is a 3D print from the Highlands miniatures dwarves range. These models are excellent, they have lots of great sharp details, but still have plenty of smooth, flat areas where you can just enjoy pushing paint around. Although this model is primarily intended for Warhammer Fantasy battles, I've put him on a round base instead so that I can use him in Age of Sigmar. All the colours I'll be using are on the screen right now, but feel free to swap them out for whatever alternative range that you prefer. As you can see, I've started off by base coating the entire model with Dryad Bark. This is a great base colour for metallics, which takes brown washes really well and would also help to hide any areas that I end up missing or I just can't get a brush to later on. I'm going to start off by painting his tunic with Macragge Blue. These areas are spread out quite a bit on this model, the largest areas being the sleeves and below the tassets. These Highlands prints have a lot of depth to them, so remember to paint inside the sleeves wherever possible. With the tunic complete, I'm going to move on to all the leather and straps on the model. For these I'll use Steel Legion Drab. In particular, you can find these areas at the bottom of the tassets, the wraps around his beard and underneath his shoulders. This model doesn't have a lot of these areas, but that varies quite a bit within the range, so keep an eye out for them. Now it's time to tackle the largest part of this model, the metallic areas. I'm going to cover these entirely with Iron Hand Steel, even the parts that I plan to eventually paint gold, just because the gold happens to cover this colour really well. Exactly which bits of the model are metallic is entirely up to you, but all of the models in this range have plenty of them. Next, with Cadian Flesh Tone, I'm going to block out all of the areas that I want to be skin. These guys have quite a lot of armour, so it's usually just the arms, hands, and the little bit of face that pops out beneath their helmets. If you're painting a lot of these guys, I would definitely recommend using different skin tones to add some variation to your army. Catachan Flesh and Kislev Flesh are great base colours for darker and paler skin respectively. Unlike the other models in this unit, this one has a cloak, and I'm going to keep it simple and fill this in with German Grey. This will help give off the impression of a nice rugged travelling cloak that really helps to sell the Dwarf Expeditionary Force look that I want to achieve. This next step is going to vary a little between the models, but since I want this dwarf to have a white beard, I'm going to colour his beard with Brain Matter Beige. This is a really nice off-white colour similar to Wraithbone, and it's a great base colour for a wizened white beard. It's also an ideal base coat for contrast paints, which are great for quick beard colours. I'll be releasing a dedicated video on this soon, so keep an eye out for that. I missed it at this step, but I'll later be colouring in the form of his beard in this colour too. Now, no self-respecting doorway would ever be complete without plenty of gold, and for that I'll be using Retributor armour. Longbeards are right at the top of the food chain, so the sky is the limit for how gold you want them to be. On this model I'm going to restrain myself and only paint the helmet, shoulder and the beer mug trim gold, but on some of the others I've done patterns on the Brigandine too. The last base colour I'm going to add is Screamer Pink, which has recently become my favourite go-to colour for weapon handles. In the past I've used a variety of colours for these parts like Xandri Dust, but I found that the Screamer Pink contrasts really well with the blue and helps to add a bit more interest to the miniature. Now the last thing to do before moving on to applying some washes is to tidy up all the mistakes I've made with the base colours. In particular, I thinned the gold a little too much and spilled onto the silver quite a lot, and I was also a bit sloppy around the blue sleeves. I'll go around now and tidy up each of these base colours before moving on. With that done, let's apply a wash to the model to bring out all of the details. Now, when I originally painted this model, I did an all-over wash of equal parts Agrax Earthshade and Matte Medium. Now this worked out alright, but having completed a few more of them, I think a better approach would be to use a Reikland Flesh Shade wash on the skin areas instead. The brown wash stains these areas a little too much and it takes quite a while to tidy up, but if you'd like the grubby finish, then feel free to go ahead with that. As always, when applying these washes, I like to do them from the top of the model to the bottom and wick away any pools of wash before they can settle. With the medium mixed into the wash, you should have plenty of time to deal with them before it begins to cure. Now I say this in every video, but I really won't ever get tired of how the wash brings out all the details on the model. Like I mentioned before, the brown stains quite a lot, so I'm going to go back and re-establish some of the base colours. I'll start off by going over the raised areas of the cloth with Macragge Blue. Then I'll follow this up with an equal parts mix of Macragge Blue and Brain Matter Beige on just the highest raised parts of the cloth to add some highlights. Now again, I really recommend using Reichland Flesh Shade to wash the skin instead of the Agrax Earth Shade to save some time, but I'll go over the skin again with Cadian Flesh Tone here just to brighten it up a little. I'm just going to focus on the flat areas of skin, keeping the darker shaded areas in the recesses between the muscles and the fingers. Depending on how dark the wash turned out, you may need several layers of this to brighten it up again. Finally, I'm going to highlight his beard with Brain Matter Beige. I'll do this by painting some vertical lines to make it look like brighter strands of hair. If you wanted to make it come out even whiter, you could apply a thin layer of pure white on top of this too. And that's the finished model. I'm going to quickly take this off camera, apply the base, and then we can take a closer look. I really enjoyed painting these Longbeard models. They all have loads of character and plenty of little details to paint on each of them. I've painted quite a few more models from this unit, and I would strongly recommend not using a brown wash on the skin. I'm really not happy with how dark it's turned out, even after spending quite a while layering the skin tone back over it. I've decided to stop here so that I can play some games of Spearhead with this guy, but you could definitely keep painting and pick out plenty of other details if you wanted to. The cloak in particular is a nice flat area that would be perfect for adding a pattern or some trim. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll have another video coming out soon focusing on some beard painting recipes. If you're interested in sticking around, then please leave a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.